Make sure you grab different color spray paints, different size thread edges, and everyday household items like cups or lids. My name is Arturo Lopez, and I created Spraycasso Studios back in 1999. I have then continued to show people diverse ways of creating master paintings in just a few minutes using nothing more than just spray paints and everyday household items. The beauty of this art is that you don't have to have a steady hand or know how to draw. All it requires is a little bit of imagination and some dedication. So join us, and you too can become a Spraycasso master. I will walk you through diverse techniques of creating beginner level paintings, intermediate level paintings and techniques, advanced level paintings, and we'll take your skills even further to master level paintings. So if you guys are ready to embark into a new art adventure, then grab your spray paints and materials. Let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome back to another Spraycasso show. Today's painting is going to be a continuation of last week's painting. So we're going to concentrate on stencils. This is the next painting we're going to be creating. It is the Mona Lisa. I've had actually quite a few requests for this painting, especially from artists that are in France. And so I thought it would be a little fun to touch up on it and maybe create one with you guys. Alright, so unlike last week's tutorial, I went ahead and created the stencil already. I cut out my pictures. You can see the outline there. And I went ahead and created the Mona Lisa, and then I went ahead and I covered it with that liquid latex. For those of you that don't know, the liquid latex is used in watercolors. So you guys can just go to the watercolor section and look for it there. I can also have a name of clear masking. Alright, so what I'm doing here is I'm just fading the outlines of the stencils in the back just a little bit, not too much. I just don't want them to show while I put the sky. See how you can still see it? Well, I'm just gonna have to make that a little bit darker, maybe fade it into to some sunset colors. I don't want to make this painting identical to the Mona Lisa, you know, for obvious reasons, but one being is to show you guys that you guys can create pretty much any painting. Just change the background a little bit. So see here, I'm just going to add some sunset colors, a little bit of red, perhaps I'll do a little bit of orange, and just kind of fade them in. Alright, now keep in mind you guys want to cover up the lines from the stencils that you guys used from the here in the background. Make sure they don't show. Just going to fade that in. Alright, move this aside. Now I'm going to add a little bit of black here at the very top, just like that. Fade it in a little bit, so this will give us a really dark sky. Nonetheless, there's some colors to the sky. It's pretty interesting, huh? It's kind of like a transition between dawn and nighttime. It's up to you guys. Use your imagination. Here I'm just going to create a little background. I'm going to use some green. Now make sure that the liquid latex is dry. It'll work better. In this case it is. It dries clear. You can get latex that dries in different colors. It's up to you guys. Alright, add a little bit of yellow. This is where the ground's going to be. So I already made it pretty evident that I want some green here in the background to show. And let's do that to the other side as well. Alright, just like that. One of the beauties about stencil paintings is that you can change the background, as I said earlier, to whatever you want it to be. This background is going to be very similar to the original Mona Lisa. However, the techniques that I'm using can be found on the tutorial called Forest Path. If you guys haven't seen that one, go check it out. Tell me what you think. So let's work on the terrain now. We have the plant life in the background. We're going to add a little bit of orange, some yellow, and black on top of that. Now we're going to tear off a piece of magazine. It's about 2 inches, maybe 2.5 inches long. Alright, we're going to put our colors right on top of that, right about here. The brightest colors that are going to show is the orange, so that'll always be the first color you see. See that? Alright, so another technique for creating background. Add a little bit of black. We're going to put our colors on top of that black. That way it gives us the effect that there's a shadow behind this rock. Right? Something like that. There's many techniques, guys. It's up to you, whichever one you guys prefer the best. Or as I'm doing here, incorporating a little bit of both. I figured that the first rock looks really good, The second one I wanted to stand out a little bit more, so I added that black first, then the colors. You can always add highlights like I'm using here, just a little bit of orange, tap into it a little bit, and there you go. See, it really stands out. That's the beauty about spray painting. Whatever fits you guys, there's a technique out there that'll work with it. Alright, let's move this up right. Let's add a road. Yep, a road. So I'm going to use a little bit of yellow, and I'm going to go over these mountains right here, just like that. I know what you guys are thinking, you know, and I get this a lot from crowds, especially when they see me doing this live, and they're like, but you just spent so much time on that rock. Why would you want to spray paint over it? Well, it happens, you know. In this case, there is a little road in the back of the Mona Lisa, and I wanted to stay pretty realistic to it. And look at this, guys. The beauty about spray paint is pretty much everything is fixable. So, you know, don't stress over it. You accidentally spray over some mountains, use a little magazine sheet. Sometimes the sea sponge comes in very handy. Now, you guys notice I added a little bit of black to that rock just to give it some shadow. I'm already taking under consideration where I want the light source to come in from. That's very important. You guys should think about that when creating terrains, rocks, and reflections even. Alright, now let's work on this side a little bit. Now, we already have the trees in the back. Let's add a little bit of shadow to them. So I'm going to use a little bit of black, and I'm using the straight edge. Remember that you want to bounce the paint off the straight edge. You don't want to directly spray it onto the painting. Okay, so I added a little bit of black to the bushes in the background, and then I flipped it a little bit and added a little bit of black on the other side of the straight edge. Now that gives us a shadow effect. Also, it'll give us a reflection if it was water. Alright, now then, what do you guys say we talk about covering the bottom here with just a little bit of black? I know on the original painting she's actually leaning against some columns, but you know that would just include another stencil and yada yada yada. So I'm just going to use a little bit of black, maybe create a marble effect, you know, add a few colors and then cover it in black again and remove the top layer, and maybe that can be what she's leaning her arm on. It's not very detailed, but detailed enough that you can tell that she's leaning on something, right? Or you can just leave it blank. It's really up to you guys. Now, when creating a moon, kind of like what I'm doing here, you don't want to do this when the can is brand new because there's a lot of pressure and you will have a really big moon. So in this case, I actually had a white that had a little less pressure, was able to create a pretty good looking moon. And then we aimed the can a good 45 degrees away from the painting, just added a little bit of stars. Okay, now then, on this next part, I'm just gonna silhouette a little bit. See how I'm doing that? I'm just adding some black here in the background, and that's giving me a silhouette around my Mona Lisa. Now I wanted to do that because I don't want her to just blend into the background. I want it to have just a little dark outline to her. Okay, now I'm just gonna wait for this to dry a little bit, and the reason I'm waiting for it to dry is because remember, we still have to remove the liquid latex. Now, to make sure that it's dry, you have to touch it, guys. Make sure it's dry to the touch. I can't stress out enough. I can't really give you a time, you know, wait 5 minutes, wait 10 minutes. Because as I discovered on my last trip to, it was Seattle, the paintings stay wet a lot longer up there. And I'm sure, you know, it changes depending on where you're at. So, it has to be dry to the touch, guys. Okay, let's remove this. Now you don't have to worry about, if you put this liquid latex while everything is nice and dry, you don't have to worry about it removing any of the spray paint. It does not remove the spray paint. You do, however, have to wait until the bottom layers are completely dry. Otherwise, you put this on top and it'll mix with the paints, and it's not very pretty. It gets actually kind of messy. So like I was telling you guys on the last tutorial, it's one of the things about stencils, you know, it takes a little bit of time only because you do have to wait for certain layers to dry before you can move forward. Alright, let's just keep removing this protection from the Mona Lisa. Now here in the areas where it's white, we can always just go back and touch it up a little bit. And if you guys saw the tutorial, the Michael Jackson tutorial, where I created some of his hair strands, little curlies there at the bottom, we're going to do the similar thing here to this Mona Lisa. Now here, I'm just kind of wasting some of the black, practicing a little bit. And from the painting, she's got a few curlies that come down right about here, right there, and perhaps there. I think she also has some on the other side. So, well, we still have some paint. I'm just gonna make, and when you're running out of paint, they'll come out thinner and they'll come out very faint. So you might want to take that under consideration and realize that while it has full, and while it's full of spray paint, you might want to create the hair that's closer to you so it looks, thicker. And when you're running out, do the areas kind of like what we're doing back here. Alright, let's zoom in a little bit. Now you can add a little bit of black. See what I'm doing here? This is just going to add some shadow to the face. It'll just give it more definition to your face. You can come back with the Spraycasso funnel and work on the hair some more, In this case, I really like the effect that it gave the face, that effect that it's hiding behind the hair, that there's shadow around it. Alright. Now, I'm going to work on the chin, on the outline. So I'm using a flexible straight edge. It's going to add a little bit of black, and this will give us more of a shadow effect. See, it just really defines her chin, her jaw outline. So keep that in mind, guys, when you're creating something like this and you want to really add that effect to the chin. Use a stock board, use something that's sturdy enough that's not going to move when you spray paint onto it, and create that jawline. If you guys go to the tutorial, the Michael Jackson tutorial, I think I did that one as well. Alright, now then, let's work on the trees here on the background. Because even though we have the outline of bushes back here and shadows, I'd like to add some pine trees. So just a little bit of black and a piece of sea sponge. We're just going to come down very thin at the top and broad at the bottom. It's a very easy technique, right? You guys have seen me do this in several tutorials. So you start off very thin at the top and then you start getting broader towards the bottom. See that? That'll give you a very nice triangle-like tree. It's very easy technique, guys. You guys can learn this from all the other tutorials that I've done. It doesn't necessarily have to be pine trees, but I think pine trees will definitely get a very unique look to it. Alright, now I'm kind of fading the trees into the horizon. See that? So it looks like the tree closest to us is bigger, and then it goes down as it gets closer towards the moon. That'll be our horizon line. We're going to do the same thing here on the left. Okay, so we're going to do the same technique. We're going to get very thin at the top, get broader towards the bottom, and the trees are going to get smaller as they get closer to the Mona Lisa. I was really considering on this painting doing a space scenery in the background, just to kind of change things up a little bit. But I decided to go finally at the end with a Earth-like realistic scenery. It's up to you guys, whatever you guys want to do. But either way, it'll be pretty unique. Alright, and there you guys have it. Let's add a little bit of shadows here in the back. You can do it this way. Use your straight edge. Bounce some of the black spray paint off of the straight edge. And see, you can see some shadows reflecting here on the ground. Now with the sea sponge, or you can use the same sea sponge from the one before, you can do some cleanup. You see some of those drops that accidentally spilled there at the bottom? It sucks them right up. Or you can just camouflage it. use a little bit of black and call it a shadow, right? So you're gonna spray paint on it. Just gonna add a little more shadow to it. Alright. See? Accident never happened. So far in this tutorial I've showed you how you can fix your painting if you get a little bit of spray paint that just comes down. Okay, cover that up with a little bit of black, comes down onto your painting. You can use a little bit of sea sponge. If you accidentally spray paint over some of your rocks, use a little bit of magazine sheet. There's lots of ways, guys. Don't get scared if you accidentally mess it up. You can always correct it. Alright. Okay, now then. It's starting to come out. I'm going to use a little bit of green and some white. So this will give us a very light green. I'm going to tear off a new sea sponge. We can't use the old sea sponge. I'm going to create some highlights on the trees in the background, because the old sea sponge has black, so that would contaminate the colors. I really want the colors to be light and kind of come through, you know. So we're going to zoom in here, and we're just going to add highlights to the areas where the moonlight is hitting some of these trees. You don't have to completely cover the trees, guys, just the outline. And make sure it's the outline that's closest to the moon. Now, another thing about highlights is that you can add overlapping layers, so you can actually give it a distinction that there's a tree closer to you, further away. When everything is black, kind of like the silhouette that we had here of the trees, you really can't tell if there's any trees closer to you. You can just see the outline. Well, that's one of the beauties about highlights, is that you can create overlappings. Alright, a little bit of black, just gonna fade it in. And we do the same to the other side. It's gotta be the side that's facing the moon, guys. Or, you know, the light source. If you guys have a really bright star in your painting, make sure that the highlights are facing it. Okay. Let's do that all the way through. Alright. So in this case, the highlights are on the right side, to where on the other side they are on the left side. I know you guys are probably thinking, you know, that I'm just repeating myself, but it is something very important. I've noticed it on a lot of spray paintings. They are a lot of fun to do, but you know, if you want to make them a little more realistic, and you might want to think about where the light source is hitting your planets as well. Alright, and obviously, guys, you guys can add more detail to it. It's up to you. I hope this has helped you guys. You guys will be able to create your very own Spraycasso Mona Lisas in no time. Guarantee it. Thank you guys for watching, and until next time, folks, remember, keep those cans shaking.